Greetings, amigops and top teners everywhere. Welcome back to another edition of Top 10 with Kyle and Mike. I am your co-host, Kyle. Opposite me today is your lovely paintbrush-wielding co-host, Michael. Now, not directly opposite me or your co-host, Michael, is your other favorite Michael, Mikey Mike. Avid listeners of the podcast will remember him from previous episodes of Mythbusters and Movie Weekend Part 1. Today, Michael has joined us to bring us a list of which the topic is unknown, to me at least. Whatever that list is, we will discuss it and vigorously debate it until, by the end of this episode, which hopefully will come in around an hour, we will have arrived at a definitive top 10 of that list. So, Mikey Mike, what are we talking about today?
All right, guys. Thanks for having me back yet again. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a real pleasure to have you back, and I have a strong feeling that I and we speak for our audience in saying that.
Good. So, this week's list is inspired by a trip that I recently took where myself, my dad, and my sister went down to South Africa. And we went on a safari adventure, and overall it was awesome, but I put together a top 10 list of those really cool and awesome parts of that trip.
So Kyle and I had an idea that this was going to generally be the topic, and I want to give the audience a good sort of sketch of what it's like to be your friend, because I think that we have adequately fanboyed over you as a podcast. Like, I think we've made it clear that we think you're very handsome. We think you're very smart. We think you're very capable. Like, we just generally fawn over you on this podcast. But I'm concerned that we haven't adequately conveyed just the strangeness of what you choose to communicate to us versus what you choose not to communicate to us. So, Kyle, you might remember better than I do. How did you and I actually find out that this safari happened? And, like, this is probably a 10-day trip after like a 10-hour flight.
Like a big deal of a trip.
16-hour flight.
Yeah.
Okay, 16-hour flight. So this is what would qualify as a BFD. So Kyle, how did we actually uncover this little
Mike
gem?
texted us like we like to text each other pictures when we see shit that reminds us of one of our favorite shows, True Detective. And, like...
Yes, that's what it was. Yes, that was what it was.
Without any fucking preamble whatsoever, Mikey Mike sends us a picture. It's like, hey, check it out. It's one of those little, like, twine, like, stick pyramid voodoo things. And we're like, ah! And then you were like, oh, it made it down to South Africa. And we were like, what?
We're like, wait, are you in South Africa right now? Also, I just had an idea. I'm gonna find that text message. Yes, I have it. That is 100% going to be our that's going to be the cover art for our week, because this is the most incredible. Yeah, I have it here. Okay. So Mike sends us. I'm actually just going to read this out loud for the text. So we're texting. Okay, I've got this whole chain. Okay, so it's Thursday, August 1st at 9:44 a.m. And I'm going to read this whole chain. Sorry guys, this is a little long. Kyle texts me and Mikey Mike. I know it's really fucking long, but should we put the good, the bad, and the ugly on our list for movie weekend this year? We never finished it freshman year. I said this is a requirement. Kyle says, speaking of spaghetti westerns, get your asses to see Once Upon a Time. Stat. I text back, oh, I have. Happily. Okay, so that was August 1st. So
in my defense, I didn't have cell service for like a week and a half. So.
Of course you didn't, Mike. You were in South Africa. So then we get a text back Sunday, August 4th. So 3 days later at 8:40 a.m. The good, the bad, and the ugly should definitely be considered! Exclamation point. P.S. In case you needed nightmare fuel, they have the devil catchers in South Africa. Nowhere is safe. Picture should be incoming. along with a picture of what appears to be a prop from the set of True Detective in the middle of a dirt track that Richard Attenborough almost certainly traversed in a safari jeep. At which point I text back 3 hours later, Mike, are you in South Africa? To which, and I will end it here, to which Mike answers, I was, just got back.
I'm an excellent communicator. I don't know what your issue is here.
Oh my god. and it's worth noting, and I don't want to spoil anything on the pod, but Mike was in Kyle's wedding, and again, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm getting married somewhat shortly, and you know, I like I said, don't want to make any announcements in the podcast. I have some plans for Mike. So Mike is in the inner circle, and I like to think, though I'm not certain, that we're in Mike's inner circle, and his traveling halfway across the planet just didn't register.
It happens.
Yeah. So with all of that preamble, I am utterly lubricated. I'm very excited.
It's important, like, and part of the reason that we share that bit of information is that we are we have no idea what you did. We have held off on all recapping. Like, we know nothing about this trip other than that you went on it. So we are totally in the dark.
Yes, totally in the dark. That's a really good point. We actually, in service of the podcast, put a moratorium on discussing what actually happened on this trip so that we can catch it all live.
So, this is a live catch-up among friends.
Yeah. So, Mikey Mike, why don't you tell us about some cool things about your time in South Africa?
Okay. So, I guess, long story short, went to South Africa, went to Johannesburg, ended up at a place kind of out in the middle of nowhere, kind of on the border with Botswana, and spent 9 days there. And these are top 10 moments. So I guess we'll start with top number 10.
Yep.
Does that sound good?
This makes me so happy. I'm primarily glad that I've now heard you say Botswana in like an actual context that wasn't a history class. So I'm pumped about that.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
So number 10, I'm going to go with the food. And it's so low because, I mean, it wasn't anything like crazy delicious and amazing. You know, it wasn't 5-star cuisine or anything. But just the exoticness of the food we were eating. So we had antelope sausages, wildebeest.
Oh.
We had kudu steaks. We had gemsbuck steaks. Like all kinds of these wild animals that you've never even heard of before.
What is a gemsbuck?
They're all kind of antelopes. So a gemsbuck it's bigger than a deer. Probably like a 400 or 500 pound animal. And it has really long, straight horns.
You see a bunch of these motherfuckers running around in The Lion King, I feel like. Like, they look very much like those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike, let's talk. So I feel like I can easily envision the kudu and the antelope and the gemsbuck tasting like something in sort of I'm forgetting what that family is called, but like the deer family. So sort of venison-y in taste.
Yeah,
and
I think they're all kind of antelope, which is it's deer-ish.
Okay, and now what about a wildebeest? What does that actually taste like? Is that more beefy or more venison-y?
Surprisingly, they all tasted fairly beefy. I mean, maybe it was
really.
It was all kind of covered in some sort of sauce or something. It wasn't just straight up, but it tasted very beefy. There wasn't a ton of super gaminess to it, which was surprising.
Yeah,
but it was all delicious. You know, it's fun to.
Now, what about oakiness?
Oakiness, maybe a little bit mahogany-ness or some kind of rich bourbon-y flavor to it. Yeah.
I'm envisioning a scenario where you made eye contact with a wildebeest for too long, and it like stamped its feet and charged at you, and you like grabbed it by its horns, and you like ground your feet into the ground, and you were like fighting each other, and then you lurched and you tackled it to the ground, and then you like let it go, but then you ate another wildebeest later for dinner. Is that like fair to say that's kind of how your experience went?
That's close. I personally didn't do that, but my sister pretty much did.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Your clan is tough folk.
Strong people.
Yeah, strong people.
Yeah. Good genes.
All right, I like that. I actually have a coworker whose boyfriend is from South Africa, and she visited his family for the first time, I think last year. And the big report she gave me was that it's a great barbecue. Like, it's a very meat-centric food culture.
Yes. There was a lot of kind of campfires and cooking over an open fire, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
That's right up your alley.
Awesome.
That is where you belong. Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Good.
Thoroughly.
That's wonderful.
Are we ready for number 9?
For sure.
That one is going to be the landscape in general. So just kind of being in a world where you have red/orange dirt and like these big old plateaus and mountains all over the place, completely different trees and grasses and shrubs than you're used to. It just reminds you that you're on the other side of the planet. And it's a whole other world. That was just a really cool experience for somebody who hasn't really been too far away from the continental states. You know, it's a whole big world, and experience that was awesome.
Can you set us properly? So you're in this area, you said, kind of towards the border of Botswana and South Africa. You're like out of Joburg. So you're in a campsite, like you're on the savannah. Where are you actually?
So
where are you sleeping at night? Where are you?
There's like a little hunting lodge. So it's like a 3-bedroom lodge with, it's got dining rooms and stuff. We weren't roughing it, but it wasn't like in a hotel. It was a lodge, a hunting lodge.
And it's out like on the plains?
Yeah.
With other folks, like, that you were traveling with, or was it just you and your sister and dad?
So it turned out that we were the only ones staying at the lodge for that week. So I guess they've done hunts before where they'll have more than one group. But for us, it was just the 3 of us, and then whoever was actually maintaining the lodge. So the cooks and the maids and everything were there. So
you had the place to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't want to spoil anything later in the list accidentally, but maybe I was missing a part of this that I actually think you may have kind of hinted at. So you were there with guides who were going to help you with potentially some harvesting of the food that you ate in number 10.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't want to spoil any further.
No. It didn't really spoil anything. It was private property. Like, we weren't out in the bush.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes, let's be very clear. Yeah, whatever Mikey Mike was doing and potentially will be describing later here, it was certainly legal and perfectly ethical. And Mike is a knowledgeable outdoorsman and treats all life with great respect.
Except when I shoot.
All right.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, but you're treating it with it's the circle of life.
Yeah.
It's the circle of life. This is the Ron Swanson ethos. It's the ethical carnivore situation. Like,
exactly.
I ever since I took that freshman philo class that I wouldn't stop droning on to you guys about food ethics. I'm really struck by the hypocrisy of eating and consuming factory raised meat and getting pissed at people who genuinely hunt for meat. I understand being anti-sport hunting if you just eat factory farmed meat, but being against people who would shoot and then eat an animal when you eat a cow that has lived a truly horrific life is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
All right, dog. Number 8.
Number 8 is surprisingly low on the list, but this one is going to be all of your big game experiences. So we ended up seeing...
Really?
Yeah. we ended up seeing giraffes up close, like maybe 40, 50 feet away. We were in one of the national parks, and there was a bull elephant right next to the road. And so we were driving up to it, and it was like 10, 20 feet away, and it was kind of like starting to get tired of us. It was kind of like charging us just a little bit. Like ears were flared out, and I was kind of like, get out of here. But we were just like right in the middle of it, and that was such a cool experience.
Wow. Did you come across any mice to test the elephant's scared of mice theory?
Unfortunately, no.
Damn.
But we did see lots of elephant poop that would have been very useful if we had found a mouse.
Good place to hide a mouse.
Yeah.
Mike, would you say, for the listeners at home, that the giraffe and the elephant were bigger, the same size, or smaller than you had pictured in your head?
I would say the elephant we saw was probably a little bit smaller than I had pictured, but it might have just been a smaller elephant, a younger one. The giraffes were huge, bigger than I imagined, like thicker than you imagined too.
With two C's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
For sure. And absolutely silent. Like you could be, walking around and you don't hear anything, you don't see any giraffe, and then you like turn around. There's like a 20-foot tall thing behind you just standing there looking at you.
Your rent's due, motherfucker!
It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
I could imagine a scenario where I'm like, do, and like you can't hear it, and then you just see like in front of you the shadow of the neck extending like past like your line of sight. Like, and then you look straight up and it's like
That's like literally the perfect monster movie shot.
Yeah.
All right, so what else did you see? So you saw those, and you're in like a Jeep at the time?
Yes. Your stereotypical Toyota Tacoma, beige, sitting in the back on, metal seats in the back. So we were just kind of driving around, and there's your big animals. We got to see some water buffalo, and we heard some hippo. Didn't actually see them, but they were around.
Oh, that's crazy.
they're actually terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that noise is like a really guttural sort of deep right? Like that's sort of the noise you're hearing?
Yeah, like they're coming for your booty.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
What was the rhino situation? No rhinos?
We did see a rhino from a distance, but it was facing away from us, so you didn't get like the glamour shot with the horn coming out and everything. It was just like, here's kind of a right butt cheek of a rhino, and that's about it.
Dude,
that's more butt cheeks than I've ever seen of a
rhinos
rhino.
are by far my favorite pachyderm, and definitely my favorite animal overall.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible, Mikey Mike. Like, there's just so many things about this experience that I feel like you can now check off of a list that so many people have. Like, this is
for sure.
These are things that I think pretty much anybody with a television set would love to do. Like, that's just so cool. Like, seeing a rhino in person, holy crap.
Yeah.
I imagine there's probably a very, very big difference, because I've seen a rhino in the zoo, right? But seeing a rhino in the zoo, even closer, like really close up, compared to seeing a rhino from afar in a place where that rhino fucking lives, has got to be a very different experience. And I imagine you've been to a zoo, so you would know that difference.
Yeah. And that was something that actually came up when we saw the rhino and the elephant. Our guide was like, hey, they have a big cat sanctuary across the street or whatever, where they had lions and whatnot. And we're like, that'd be interesting. But then he was like, they're all caged up because they're actual predatory animals, so they're dangerous. And it's like, you don't want to see that kind of animal. If you're in Africa, you don't want to see that animal in a cage.
Yeah.
Like, I can go to a zoo and see a lion in a cage.
Yeah.
But to see it in the wild and in its element, that's a whole other experience.
Wow.
So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think again, to get back to the point about you and your like great respect for the circle of life. Like I really admire that you would be like, yeah, I don't know, that's not that interesting to me. I don't want to see that. I can see that anywhere else. This is to me about like you wanted to really experience the place you were at, which I really like.
Mike, were there any portions of this trip that you could possibly not have liked that would have construed a not top 3, or did you just skip this bit?
I did have a not top 3.
Oh.
Hold on then. Mikey Mike. Mm-hmm. Could you help us out here?
I believe this is where, what's the guy's name? Corey or some Kevin? Is it Kevin?
Okay. Your boy Kevin.
I think Kevin has some awesome music for us, so cue that music.
Boom. Wow.
Stank alert.
And an utterly seamless cue. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, that really was an excellent cue. Well done.
I do what I can.
Yeah, you're a good man.
All right. We ready for the not top 3 then?
Hit it.
Let her rip.
The first item on this list is going to be Johannesburg itself.
Interesting.
In general.
Huh.
And I don't know if it was just my expectations of like going on a safari and then being in this big city. I didn't enjoy it. But then also you had a ton of like smog in the city. And on the way out, you go through this whole area of like kind of slums, which was really kind of just upsetting to see, like just little shanty towns and stuff. And it was just kind of not the kind of atmosphere that you wanted to start a vacation on, like an enjoyable thing. It was just not what I was expecting right off the bat.
It's kind of funny you say that because I feel like my only image of Johannesburg in my head is like the slums from District 9. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. But how much time did you spend in Johannesburg proper?
We only spent, we landed at 7 p.m. And then we spent that night and left the city at 9 the next morning. So we spent one night there.
Okay.
And then kind of an afternoon in the airport on the way back. So we didn't spend a ton of time in the city itself, but just driving through and seeing what we saw. It wasn't the best experience.
Huh.
I think it's funny you say that because I find those experiences to be tone setters. Mm-hmm. And I felt the same way when I went to Positano and we landed in Naples, and I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
this place sucks." And like we were driving out, and I kind of felt the same way. It was like it's sort of an impoverished area and just like a dump. And it starts you off on a weird note, and then you get to this awesome place, and you have the dream vacation. But it can kind of mess with you if you go somewhere and the opening salvo is just weird.
Yeah, kind of just makes you wish that you could parachute out of the airplane and land where you're going to end up, and then just be able to skip all that other stuff. But
could imagine you.
I feel like you're actually qualified to do so.
Yeah, let's look into that.
See what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next one is going to tie in with number 9 in the landscape. On one of our trips to the national parks, we ended up driving up this like cliff face, and you've got a wall on your right side, a single lane road that you're driving up like very steeply, and then a very steep drop on your left. And you guys probably know I'm not a fan of heights. So that was just kind of like get me on the other side of the car and hang on for dear life. So
very understandable. That's a very reasonable not top 3.
Yeah.
I'm not really that afraid of heights, but that sounds harrowing, and I think I'd have some issues with that too. So
next, and the last one on this list on the not top 3 is experience I had with security in the airport on the way back.
Interesting. I thought you were going to go with the tsetse flies.
We didn't have too many issues with bugs.
That's good.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring back some souvenirs, and they happened to be empty rifle casings from our hunting adventures. And I thought, hey, they're just empty casings. what's the harm?
Yeah.
And security guy kind of pulls me aside and says, we're going to have to talk to you. So they pull me into this corner room.
Oh my God.
Mike, can you explain for the listening audience at home, just to be clear how kind of ridiculous this is, like, explain what an empty casing from a rifle actually is, just to clarify that you were not being a nutbag.
So just like a general idea of a bullet, you have the actual projectile, which is the pointy kind of copper lead bit. And then you have that the casing is brass, which is just kind of a hollow can, essentially. And then you have gunpowder inside of that casing. So an empty casing is literally a really thin piece of brass with maybe some residue of gunpowder.
But
that's it.
Importantly, though, it's not like the part of the bullet that enters your target. Like, it's not pointed or sharp or like...
No.
It's in no way dangerous.
It couldn't cause any damage if you tried to use it to cause damage, and it's inert because there's no gunpowder left or so little that it's
like carrying a quarter onto a plane. It's like a small piece of metal, right? Like,
right?
Yeah.
It'd be like
bringing your blunted tourney sword.
That's a bummer. That sucks.
Yeah, that does suck.
But. Luckily, my sister and my dad managed to bring their casings through just fine. And we decided
it's that look.
Yeah, I look suspicious, but we decided that we could buy a case of shells and just use those as souvenirs anyway. It's we know we got the animals we got, and it'll just be fun to have the memories and some little souvenir. So
yeah.
Bastards. Sons of bitches.
Right? Yeah. But it is what it is.
What are you going to do?
That's all I got.
So when you turned the tables on them and started interrogating them, did they cower in fear as all men do before you?
A little bit, but then they called in backup and, SWAT officers with automatic rifles and all that. Decided to back down just a little bit.
And you could have kept going, but at this point it was like a time thing. You're like, I just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss my flight.
Yeah.
All
that red tape.
So. Yep.
Is that the end of your not top 3 then there, Michael?
That's all I got for the not top 3.
Wunderbar. What about number 7?
Number 7 is ahead of the big game is just everyday animals. Like your, I guess, everyday in quotes. So, your gemsbuck, your antelope, your kudu. Being in a area where like either you're stalking them and they're in control, they're in their element, or sitting in a blind and watching them at a watering hole or something and like just seeing them live life, and like that kind of interaction was awesome because you don't really get that from a TV screen or whatever. And with the big game, you're in a truck and you're kind of protected, but with the smaller stuff, you were out there and on your own.
I feel like we've talked about mostly big type animals. Did you see anything smaller? Like, and this may be ignorant. Like, did you see meerkats or stuff like that? Or like, what's the smaller type of animals that live out there?
I don't think we saw any meerkats. There were lots of warthogs.
Nice.
Out there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did they sing?
Not quite.
Did they pass
make
wind?
Some funny noises though. Potentially.
When I was a young
my friends never stand down wind. Oh, the shame. Oh, the shame.
That's such a great line.
How to change
so disingenuous.
Anyways.
Small, medium game. So we had warthogs, and there were some smaller antelopes that were, maybe 50 pounds or whatever, kind of sprinting around. And then you had more of your bigger game, and that's about it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So did you see any cool... Well, I want to know about birds. Let's talk birds. Did you see any like vultures, any flamingos? Like talk to me about the avian
velociraptors,
creatures.
That kind of thing.
There were
whatever you got.
Lots of cranes.
I like a good crane.
Yeah. There were some like geese type birds. African geese, I think they were. Not a ton of birds, but enough to kind of keep you interested. There were some little, sparrow type birds just kind of flitting around, but some ostrich, technically a bird. But,
oh, yeah. That's a cool one.
Mm-hmm. What about bugs? Were there enormous fucking bugs? Because when we were in Australia, they seem to have like mostly the same bugs that we have, but just like 7 times bigger.
I didn't get bugged by the bugs too much, surprisingly, because usually I'm kind of a mosquito magnet or whatever, but they didn't bother me. So I don't have much to say on the bugs, if they were big or not.
Wow. That's nice.
Interesting.
That's great.
Any snakes?
No live snakes. One of the guys at the lodge loved playing pranks, so he had a little rubber snake that he would, lay around the place and try to scare people, but no live ones.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, well, I like this one. This was a good pick.
Yeah. Number 6 is actually tying into your Pumbaa references, and it's all of the Lion King moments that we had. So, like I said, with the warthogs, you got them running around, and their tails are always pointed straight up in the air, just like Pumbaa's.
Oh, that's so good.
And
so good.
We actually came across a hyena den.
What?
Out there? Yeah.
Wait, so do you, like an occupied hyena den?
Yes, we didn't see the hyena though. We don't know where it was, but it was like
Whoa.
It was perfect. If you compared it to the Lion King, like just this desolate area, like we were in the middle of the woods and there's trees all around. You come up and it's just like this caked mud all around the place. You have like skeletons,
hundreds of elephant skeletons
everywhere.
I was gonna say, do you really have the skeletons? It's like the elephant graveyard.
Yes, you have it. It's exactly like.
Wait, for real?
Yes.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Mike, I've got some advice for you if you go back.
What's that?
Be prepared.
Where they're like noxious green evil gases coming out of the ground.
You could definitely imagine it, for sure.
Wow. That's actually fucking wild. I assumed that was like highly dramatized for film.
No, it wasn't. And like I was saying, you're kind of walking through a perfectly lush area, and then it's just desolate.
Fuck.
And it's insane. But they nailed it in the movie.
That's so cool, Mikey Mike.
Yeah.
Wow.
Were there any other good Lion King moments that you kind of come to mind?
My sister and I kind of had a moment where we had taken a wildebeest, and it was like Mufasa's revenge, That was kind of a fun little joke.
Oh my god. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's so good.
But that's about it for actual Lion King moments.
Okay.
Still though,
wow.
That's a huge.
What a great pick.
That's a huge thing. I'm really pleased with your account of the elephant graveyard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bummer that those elephants got ate, but it happens.
You know what that is, Kyle?
The circle of life.
Yep, that's absolutely what it is.
Did you see any baboons with like sticks that were really sassy and would whack you on the head if you weren't paying attention?
We did.
Good
we
question.
did see baboons. They hid the sticks pretty well.
Wait, like for real?
For real baboons.
Did they have big red asses?
Yes, they did.
All right. That's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
The important questions.
Do we know why they have big red asses? Have we Googled this?
I think it's a mating thing.
Is it?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That makes
I
sense.
don't know why.
All right. You guys... Yeah, sorry.
I don't know why humans haven't adopted this practice, because I feel like if I had a big red ass...
Oh, I do. I paint it. It's like a little bit of rouge on my behind.
Just a little rouge. Touch of... Just a touch.
Just a touch.
Anyways.
I'm going to be looking this up. But I'm just going to look up butt. Oh, wow. Those baboons are mating.
Ew.
I'm currently, to be clear, I'm on my work computer as we speak. Protruding buttocks. Oh, wait a second, guys. No. Okay, so, oh god, that is disgusting. That photo of that ass. Wow. They have thick fur except on their muzzle, short tails, and rough spots on their protruding buttocks called ischial callocytes.
His insight.
Or ischial callosities. These calluses are nerveless, hairless pads of skin that provide for the sitting comfort of the baboon.
Sure, and this audio transitions immediately to pans out and Mike's sitting wearing a suit in a conference room and they hit the tape recorder and like
yeah.
So anyways, you're terminated.
100%. It says the pads enable monkeys to sleep upright on thin branches beyond reach of predators without falling.
That's amazing.
Wow, I cannot believe I just can't believe how graphic this photo of this monkey's ass is right now. I'm sending it to you guys in our group chat. So for the listeners, we're currently in a Google chat. That's how we're doing this. So guys, I just messaged it to you. Just look at the top right photo and zoom in on it. It's very upsetting.
Mike, this is my work computer. Oh my god.
Do you see that? Are you actually looking at it? Oh, good God.
I'm not going to put that on Instagram.
Sorry, listeners. I know this isn't very good audio, but you should definitely Google ischial callosity. We'll figure out how
on
to
your
spell it.
Personal
Just start with
computer.
baboon and do some linking. Go on private mode on your personal comp.
That seems like...
All right, Mike, so
like
that's stuff.
Yeah. Good time for number 5?
Yeah.
Moving on. Mike, you're gonna be getting this one soon, but it's buck fever. So whenever you're like in the moment of a hunt and you've found the animal and you're aimed, you're getting ready to pull the trigger and your heart's just pumping out of your chest, that adrenaline rush is just something else. It's awesome. So you can get that, any hunting trip you go on, but it's just that awesome that it's made it to number 5 on the list.
Wow.
So I'm trying not to spoil things. Are you going to tell us specific animals that you took down later? Like, is that something that can you just tell us now? Because I want to hear how cool it would be to be looking down the barrel of your rifle and seeing whatever it is that you saw.
Yeah, I don't have any specifics of. All
right, so tell
animals.
us what's what.
So, I mean, if you're looking down the scope, and depending on the animal, sometimes it's way bigger than you imagine. Like I have one in mind with a gemsbuck, and we come around a corner, and this animal just looks like it's 10 feet tall, and it's insane. And somebody hands you a gun and says, shoot this one, and like hardly even register that there's other animals there. And you're just kind of like, you're living entirely in the moment and just thinking like, oh, don't screw this up. And you're trying to remain calm when it's one of the most exciting experiences you'll ever have. And it's just so difficult to do, but it's like nothing else.
Wow. Yeah. So, Mikey Mike, I want a couple pieces of information. So what is your equipment? So you mentioned a scope. What are you actually shooting here? So that's question 1. Question 2 is, give me your shots. You successfully took down what and how?
Okay. So we're shooting a 308, which, if you're not aware with calibers, that's fine. But like a deer usually shoot like a 273. So 273 is the diameter of the actual bullet projectile. So 308 is a bigger caliber, which is a pretty big bullet for hunting any kind of game. Sometimes it wasn't even enough for these animals. They would just run for miles. But
oh my God.
Yeah, with busted up shoulders or whatever, they would just run, which was crazy. But we actually ended up taking, my dad took an antelope and a zebra and a kudu.
What?
Whoa!
Oh my god.
So those were his 3. I ended up shooting.
And what did he get? What kind of shots did he get on him? Like, did he go heart? What did he get him?
The antelope ended up being a gut shot, but we were.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to defend him. He's a better shot than that, and we weren't really happy with the way the bullets were flying, so we got that sorted out later on. His zebra, he got through both of the main arteries in the neck. So the zebra
so good
was
shot
actually,
from Dad.
It was a good shot, but the zebra actually ended up sprinting like a quarter mile, just like it should have been dead on the ground, but it was sprinting.
Fuck.
And just so tough.
So it's just dumping blood everywhere. It's got to just be absolutely dumping.
Yes. Yeah. Crazy. And then his kudu was a perfect heart shot. It stumbled for 50 yards and it was down. So that was awesome. For myself, I shot a gemsbuck and a warthog. So the gemsbuck, I kind of screwed up the shot and got it on the back shoulder. And it actually ended up busting up that shoulder, but it still ran for probably 2 or 3 miles and we had to track it. And it just like, you could see its prints where it was like dragging a foot. And it was just.
And you're not
going.
tracking on foot, are you? You're on like a.
We're on foot.
You're tracking on foot.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
See, that sounds really fucking fun. Like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the whole thing was fun, but like to actually like have to chase an animal like that and like not have it in your line of sight the whole time was probably fucking really, really cool.
Yeah, and you really didn't have line of sight. Like you could see 10 feet in front of you, and it was bushes. Like you couldn't see past that. So it was looking at trails, and that's it. That's all you have to go off.
Isn't that kind of scary? Like you don't know if you can't see further than 10 feet ahead of you. Like you can't see what you're chasing, but you also can't see like whatever else is out there, right? Like
exactly.
That sounds like really intense.
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
Wow. Mikey Mike.
Yeah. And then my sister ended up shooting a wildebeest, which was another excellent shot. It ran a little bit and then it went right down. So it was fighting the whole time, but it was a really good shot. So
I'm not surprised to hear you be far more complimentary of your father and sister's shooting than your own.
Yeah.
But I'm also not surprised to hear that there was some strong work from the entire clan.
Yeah. So we've had lots of practice. You know, my sister and I have been hunting all our lives. My dad's been hunting all his life. So we've got, 80 years of experience between all of us.
So, Mike, did you bag like one a day, or was it like how spread out was it?
It was about one a day. We got skunked one day, I think. We didn't get anything, but the rest of it, I think it was all one per day. I think so. We got 6 animals. I think we were there for 7 days. We were hunting for 7 days.
Okay, yeah.
So that all checks out.
Fuck. And were you able to bag it all and bring it back? Like, what percentage of those did you end up like eating?
I'm not sure how much of the actual game we ate because they might have had some still on hand. But we took it all back to the lodge, and they divvied it up. Some of it they give to a local butcher shop, and then they can sell it.
Obviously, it seems that this is how it would go. But it's good to hear that you're not just like, cool, we fucking killed a zebra and then left it. Like it's being used, right?
Yeah, you don't just chop the horns off and leave it and take the trophy and leave the rest. It's all used, and we're being respectful of the animals and all that good stuff. So
yeah, no surprises.
Yeah.
Damn, as someone who has literally no hunting experience, this sounds both incredibly intimidating but also very exhilarating. And I'm kind of surprised to hear you put it this low on your list, especially considering what I know of your love of hunting. So
yeah, there is one that comes up higher on the list, but it gets a little more philosophical towards the top of the list.
Oh,
let's do it.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so that was that number 5?
Yeah.
That was 5. Yeah.
All right, so hit us with number 4, big dog.
Number 4 is going to be the night sky down there.
Oh, wow. Could you see your ancestors up there?
Oh my God.
Oh, for sure. They were watching. They found their place in the stars. But you're just so far away from any civilization. There's no light pollution. We could actually look up at the sky and see the Milky Way with your naked eyes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You're just that far out and incredible. Like, there's more stars you can even imagine out there. You know, you look up in a city and you see 20 stars maybe, but out there's thousands of them.
That must have been like a transcendent, like out of body experience for you, because
Yeah.
I mean, we know of your appreciation of all things outer space, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about you experiencing that.
Yeah, it was something else for sure. And
yeah, as somebody who's your friend, it makes me happy to imagine you getting that experience, because like Kyle said, I think the listeners know, but like it's so up your alley. Like, you're a man of outer space. It's so cool that you got to have such a communing with the universe type
That's at your
experience.
core. Like, you have such a respect for that whole kind of avenue of science, and like the kind of uncertainty that comes with it, and like to have that experience at the same time when you're like in South Africa with your family, capitalizing on another one of your passions. This is making me so fucking happy.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So that was something else. And you get all kinds of cool stuff with like the Southern Cross in the sky. So like, they don't have the North Star, obviously. So your Southern Hemisphere equivalent is the Southern Cross. The moon actually is like tilted a little bit from what we're used to. So we have the man on the moon, right, with all the craters. Down there, they think of it as the rabbit on the moon, because the moon is like sideways for them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just kind of a fun little experience too. Not quite as
something I don't think about.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Something else for sure.
Damn, son. All right, so do you have any honorable mentions, or do you want to just spring right into the top 3?
I have a couple honorable mentions that we've kind of touched on a little bit, at least one of them. One of them is going to be the tracking. So It was amazing seeing the hunter or our guide, like going through the bush and looking at footprints or spotting like one little drop of blood in this huge area or one little broken stick and saying, oh yeah, our animal went that way, and just doing it effortlessly. And we're following behind, and like, I don't know where the heck we are, but he knows exactly where he's going. And it was just to see that skill level is something else, because hunting back home, we're so used to having line of sight where you see an animal, you shoot it and it runs, and it's like, oh, it's still over there. But down there, like I was saying, you can see 10, 15 feet in front of you, but okay, the animal runs half a mile, and how are you going to find it? You know, it'd be impossible without that skill set. So that was cool to see. A funny one, they have apparently a custom down there is they put like hot water bags essentially in their beds to like warm them up before you go to sleep. And they actually, like, they were like almost like whoopee cushions, you know, kind of that rubbery feeling.
Yeah.
But they were covered in animal hides. So like mine had like a leopard print on it. And so I wasn't aware they did it. So I pulled back the sheets on the bed, and there's just like fur thing just like jiggling in my bed. And I was like, what the heck is that? Because it looks like an animal moving around your bed. Like, oh, it's a water bag. But So it was
That's
just
awesome.
kind of funny. And then an honorable mention, just because it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, is the flight. So I think I mentioned earlier it was 16 hours in the plane, both ways.
And can you tell us where you are flying from?
Straight from Atlanta to Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
Nonstop.
Okay.
Yeah, so 16 hours in the air, and it surprisingly wasn't terrible. Not what I was expecting.
That is surprising.
Yeah. They had enough meals and enough, like it was overnight, so you slept half the trip and you had enough meals to break everything up. So it was surprisingly bearable. That's all I had for honorable mentions.
Very good.
All right. Want to take us to the number 3?
Number 3 is going to be chats around the campfire. So pretty much every night after supper, we would light a campfire and we'd all just sit around and kind of shoot the shit. And we got to talking about all the other hunters that came through and crazy characters or awesome hunts that they went on, telling stories that we had from back home. One of the guys that actually worked at the lodge, he spent a couple of years doing anti-poaching stuff. So he would actually sleep out in the bush with a pack of rhinos, and he would protect them from poachers. So he would just be sleeping out in the bushes with rhinos there. And he said, like, he showed us like little videos that he took from where he was sleeping in a bush where you hear gunfire from poachers all around and stuff. And just kind of getting the culture of the area was awesome. Knowing how much they respect the animals and seeing how this is kind of a shared bond that we have with a love of hunting that crosses oceans or hemispheres, whatever. People across the world can have similar experiences. So that was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to have some sort of thought or comment, but that was just so perfectly phrased and perfectly put.
Wow. You're right. I feel like we're getting into kind of philosophical territory. Like, this too feels like something that appeals to your base nature.
Yeah.
Which is pleasing to me.
100%.
Yeah. Ready for number 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
This is another one, a little bit philosophical and a little more personal. So, like I said, my sister and I grew up hunting with our dad the past 20 years of my life. That's been a thing. And being able to experience that in Africa, it was just an amplification of this history of memories that we have. So I was trying to think of examples for you guys that you might kind of relate to. Like, you love baseball. So, imagine watching a baseball game with your dad on TV growing up and then going to your first game in person, like how that's just a huge step up from what you know and love. And so you have all these fond memories, and it's just a whole, like, 10 steps higher. It's just awesome.
Like, you're making me, you're hitting me right in the feels here.
Yeah, that's just so special. And for the listeners, Kyle and I both have, I think, a cool thing about our college experience. That's part of why we do this podcast and why we have wanted to bring on our friends, is just we've gotten to know our friends and their families really intimately over the past, however many years it is. And it's been a really cool experience to actually develop our own relationships with each other's parents. And this is really cool for me to hear because Mike's dad is a really special guy. He's just the classic strong, silent type. But that's just the exterior. He's just a really sweet guy who raised a good kid who we like quite a bit, and who worked really, really fucking hard for his family. Really fucking hard for his family. And it's really cool that he's getting some reward that he deserves to get to experience stuff like that. Like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like,
So,
obviously, like, you've just told us how much that meant to you, and I obviously couldn't possibly speak for your dad, but I have to imagine teaching your son and your daughter how to do something like that and spending so much time and having that part of your lives, and then, like you said, elevating it to this level must have been just such an incredible feeling. So that's awesome. I liked what you did there. You compared it to, but even so, like the idea of you guys realizing that kind of like, I guess it's like kind of a dream. Like you're realizing a dream you had to like go on this adventure and you did it together. That's amazing.
Yeah. Once in a lifetime opportunity. Awesome trip. So
what could possibly top that?
Yeah.
I'm starting to doubt myself too. But but the reasoning behind number one is first of all, it's a really cool story. So it's easier to tell, like philosophical things are really emotional, but they're not as fun to tell as a story.
That is perfectly consistent with what you judge worthy of telling us and not.
And also, I wanted to end with a bang. So, number one is going to be a zebra chase that we went on. So we were just driving around one day. We were actually checking like some water pumps with the guys working there, and we're just like, oh, let's drive around and see what we see. And we end up seeing like this herd of zebra off to our left, 50 yards away or whatever. And so we kind of like sneak up. We're driving on a dirt road, and we're kind of like sneaking up towards them, and they keep moving ahead of us just a little bit, keeping their distance. And we slowly start speeding up. And next thing you know, we're going like 35, 40 miles an hour down this dirt road with like, curving all over the place. And these zebra are keeping up with us. Like they're sprinting beside us. And we're, hauling down this dirt road. We're hanging on in the back of the truck, barely hanging on. And the driver speeds up even more to get ahead of him. And he takes a hard left at like this intersection and he slams on the brakes, and the zebra come just crashing, thundering across the road in front of us, like literally right in front of the truck. And there's just like this cloud of dust, and you hear the hooves as they're just thundering past you. And it was just a heart pumping moment. That was awesome to see. Just a stampede of zebra.
Well, first of all, like, it sounds like almost frightening, but like to know that you were going to be okay when he slammed on the brakes like that, it must have been such an awesome feeling to just witness like the strength and power of like a herd of zebra, right? Like, and that like must have impressed on you so much, like the raw kind of like energy of it all. Whew.
Because they're like full size horses,
incredible.
500-600 pound animals just running at 40 miles an hour across in front of you.
And like how fucked you would have been if they had screwed it up and like
he would have been the Mufasa in that scenario.
You just can't fabricate that kind of experience. Like that is
no.
That like whew, that's awesome.
Like actual danger.
Yeah. That's exhilarating. Christ.
Yeah.
Wow. Mike, you are an American treasure, and I am sure that your new friends in South Africa think the same of you, and I'm sure that they're expecting some sort of text updating them on your life, and I'm sure they're not getting it.
Most definitely they won't be.
Mike, before we get to recapping and adjourning here, I'd like to say thank you for sharing this with us. Like some of this stuff, especially at the top, is not like deeply personal. I don't think, but it is, your experience, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. It's fun to catch up, first of all, but it's also awesome to like all of this kind of fits with our picture of you and what we know of you and what we love about you so much.
Yeah.
But to hear you and see you tell it has been a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, totally agreed. I think sometimes it's sort of an awkward. It can be a strange dynamic having a conversation that is going to be on a podcast with somebody who you care about and trying to have the actual conversation, because we want to have this conversation. But it's really cool that I'm really glad that we waited so that other people could share this, because I feel like Kyle and I are just often singing your praises in joking ways, but I'm very glad that this is in evidence for other people to listen to, because it's a real, like Kyle said, it's a real testament to the things that we love about you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was, I was thinking about this as kind of like the perfect medium for me to tell the story, because like I said, if we were sitting down and just having a regular conversation, you would probably have to pry stuff out of me, and I wouldn't have a list of stuff to talk about, right? But you asked me to put together a list.
That is very true.
And so I had to have talking points, and I had to think about all this stuff and have it all lined up and ready to go.
So that's the formula. Next time we want to know about what's going on with you, we just have to force you to make a list for us.
Yeah. Tie me down.
Yeah, top 10 things you ate for lunch this last week.
Peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
First lunch, second lunch.
All right,
Mike, do you want to recap for us?
Sure. At number 10 was the food. Number 9 is the landscape. Number 8 is the big game. Number 7 is the everyday animals, in air quotes. Number 6 is all the Lion King moments. Number 5 is buck fever. Number 4 is the night sky. Number 3 is our chats around the campfire. Number 2 is the amplified family memories. And number 1 is the zebra chase.
Amazing.
Mikey Mike, what an absolute
I can't
gem.
wait for the zebra chase scene in the movie of Mikey Mike's life.
It's going to be awesome.
Who do we think plays Mikey Mike in the
Probably
film
the Rock's
adaptation?
kid.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're out. You know what? Case closed. That's correct.
He'd be the only person enormous enough to portray Michael in a film.
Yeah, it's all about the pecs.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's some people who I think have triceps that could rival Mikey Mike's, but nobody has that chest.
You would need Tom Hardy's traps and the Rock's pecs.
Yeah, correct.
But all right,
you flatter me.
Well,
All right, before we go, Kyle, we got a couple things to say.
That's right. As Mike mentioned earlier, our Stanky Not Top 3 music was written and performed by the incomparable Kevin MacLeod, as was our theme music. And of course, thank you, Kev. And our artwork, which displays our faces, as you know, was put together by Erin Sant. She's also very, very talented. If you want to see more of her things, you could do so at Sant Design on the old Instagram.
And our social media work was done by the lovely Caroline Labranti. She can be found on the old internets. Just Google the name, you'll figure it out. Some of the work she's done for us is on our Twitter, mediocre at best, our Facebook, our Instagram. Those are all top 10 KM with the 10 spelled out, TEN. And if you have thoughts, suggestions, you want to be on a podcast, you just kind of want to tell us we suck, top10km@gmail.com. Please send us some feedback. Finally, I'm sure you're listening to this on some sort of podcast app, but if you want another one, you can check us out on the Apple Podcast app, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, pretty much wherever podcasts can be found. Mr. Kyle, that's what I would say.
I think you said it all. Stay tuned on Instagram. We're going to at least post a picture of the devil catchers and hopefully some other cool pics from Mikey's trip.
Yeah, we will. This will be a good follow-up for us to squeeze ever more out of Mikey Mike. Get some photos.
All right. Thanks to both of you,
All right,
Michaels.
Mike, thanks for joining us.
All right.
Thanks for having
me,
me,
buddies.
Peace.